Fading future, shattered dreams. End of times ain't what it seems.
Hello, friends. It's Sam Chaney reporting for Weaponized News. Today's August 11th, 2026. Thank you for joining us on this Tuesday edition of Weaponized News. I'm back from a little vacation I had. Thank you, everybody, for hanging in there last week as we played some replays. We got live current news for you today on Weaponized News. Let's get right into it. What do we have today? They're doing the Patriot Games. Take a look at that in Ohio. It's giving off Hunger Games vibes with Trump leading the effort there. Take a look at that for a minute. Iran war, day 164 is where we are. Trump says he's negotiating and Iran's agreed to a deal. Iran says, we don't know what you're talking about, bro. Like, seriously. Somebody's lying. They're probably both lying. So we're in a Persian standoff still in the Strait of Hormuz. We'll go over those details for you today as well. We'll take a look at this big earthquake that hit Colombia, 7.4 magnitude. Pretty big one. Some of the images, man, that buildings are, I guess they don't build earthquake-proof buildings in Colombia because they're collapsing all over the place. We'll take a look at that. We have public health news. Trump signed an executive order on the miracles for the kids yesterday. We'll take a look at that. They said no more Medicaid funding. Today, they said no more Medicaid funding for the transgender surgery of minors. Take a look at that. Some new food transparency is now being claimed by HHS. We'll take a look at that. A bunch of Epstein news, a bunch of economic news for you today as Trump's launching his basically insider trading scheme there to get inside first access to his post on Truth Social. We'll take a look at that. A bunch of other economic news as gas here in America is still well above $4 a gallon. Bunch of geopolitical news. They're bombing stuff, and we bombed a Panamanian flagged vessel in the Strait of Hormuz. That is us, America. Allegedly, no one was injured. Let's take a look at that. The Houthis are bombing in the Bab al-Mandab Strait. Bunch of other geopolitical news. Russia-Ukraine war rages on, tragically enough. Take a look at that. Lebanon, the demolition of Lebanon continues, and the genocide there in Palestine continues as well. Oh, I'm sorry, Gaza. Oh, I'm sorry, there never was any of that. It's just a figment of our imagination from Indiana Jones is the narrative they're trying to sell. It's just so ridiculous, but that's what we're up against here. And what is it being? It's being reported by, 2 days ago, antiwar.com reported, oh, yeah, nobody seems to notice. Nobody seems to care. We bombed Somalia for the 78th time this year. 78 times we bombed Somalia. Nobody even cares. Nobody even knows or cares. But, man, on the back of all these reports that U.S. munition stockpiles are at all-time lows. So what if Russia and China do decide to make a hard move? You know what I mean? Or is all this just propaganda and hype to pump up weapon sales? We'll take a look at that and a whole lot more on this Tuesday edition of Weaponized News. Thank you, everyone, for joining us here now as I see more people coming online now. Welcome, welcome. Strong, shout out to Strong on the Rumble. Says we missed you. Well, thank you, Strong. Missed you too. And shout out to Ruckus on the YouTube and Sandwich Time. Shout out to you guys. Thank you for joining us on this Tuesday edition of Weaponized News. All right, let's get to on this day in history. I didn't have that many, but we go way back here now today on August 11th. We go way back to the year 3144 BC. 3144 BC is traditionally considered the start date of the Mesoamerican long count calendar used by several pre-Columbian Mesoamerican civilizations, notably the Maya. And here's a look at their calendar right there. So way back on this day, 3104 before Christ. Then we flash way forward in history here, after Christ, to the year 1597. Germany expels English salespeople. So it's not just aardvarks getting thrown out all over the place. Every once in a while, they throw out some salespeople from England. 1860, on this day, United States' first successful silver mill is established in Virginia City, Nevada. 1914, on this day, aardvarks are expelled from Michnik, Poland. 1919, on this day, the Weimar Republic begins in Germany, and that worked out real well for the Germans, didn't it? On this day in 1934, we saw Alcatraz Federal Penitentiary officially open in the San Francisco Bay. And 1988, on this day, Al-Qaeda is formed by a meeting between bin Laden and the CIA. No, they don't mention the CIA here, but trust me, they had a large hand in it. Al-Qaeda is formed on this day at a meeting between Osama bin Laden, Ayman al-Zawahiri, and Dr. Fadel in Peshawar in Pakistan, allegedly. And then on this day in our civil liberties history, we have a few events. We go back to the year 1934. Prominent lawyers protest vigilant raids against alleged radicals in San Francisco. A group of prominent lawyers organized by the ACLU released a statement on this day protesting raids against alleged radicals by private vigilante groups in San Francisco. The letter claimed that it was well known that the raids were planned, but the police provided no protection. Additionally, the National Guard, called out to preserve the peace, provided no protection. About 300 men were arrested in the raids. The raids were part of the aftermath of the bitter longshoremen strike in San Francisco between May and July 1934. The mayor of San Francisco, on the basis of no evidence about specific individuals, labeled all the men communist, as of course as you would. And then on this day in our civil liberties history, 1961, Justice Department lifts 30-year customs ban on Tropic of Cancer. The U.S. Department of Justice on this day ordered an end to seizures by U.S. Customs on the famous Henry Miller novel, Tropic of Cancer, and two of his other novels, Tropic of Capricorn and Plexus. Who knew? Government loves censorship. Well, we do know that here at Weaponized News. What customs officials and other censorship forces had found offensive about Tropic of Cancer was Miller's quite liberal use of the word, fuck, through the novel. Grove Press, owned by Barney Rosett, February 21st, 2012, had begun importing the book in June. Although the Justice Department ended its ban, the novel still faced more than 60 efforts to ban it or prosecute its publisher in local communities. Wow, I don't think I've ever read it. Now it makes me want to go read it, just so I can be offended by the F word, right? Sure, but hey, government was keeping our sensibility safe there. Keeping our sensibility safe. All right, here's our segue to the news. They unveil a tribute to warmongering war criminal, now deceased, burning in hell, Lindsey Graham.
The moment has now arrived. With a shared vision for the future and deep respect for our past, together, let us mark this new beginning in 3, 2, 1.
Seriously, don't clap. Here's the White House today. They claim crime is at all-time lows, and they've cleaned up Washington, D.C. Here's a video out of the White House. Seriously, that's like what, Game of Thrones or something? So some Fed AI slop there out of the White House. They say order restored, the Capitol reclaimed. Sure. I wouldn't download. I'm not going to, and I wouldn't advise anybody, but they're pumping here now out of the White House. They say I wouldn't download their app on my phone, but they're saying they're not ghosting you. They're too busy reading the White House wire. Aren't they so funny and comical there out of the White House? wh.gov/wire. So you could get government propaganda and surveillance directly every day on your cell phone there. And people say the government doesn't care. Okay, Patriot games are going on right now in Ohio. We've been reporting on it. Top American high school athletes are competing there. It's putting off Hunger Game vibes to me. I don't know about you guys. Patriot games. And Trump's there right now. This with the big old SUV is giving off the elitist Hunger Game vibes. There's more. Show you a little bit of this Star Spangled Banner. There's Trump with a bunch of youth. You know how the White House always honors all these different sports teams that win the championship? I've been noticing Trump always makes inappropriate statements to the athletes. He's like, oh, and he's done it multiple times. He's like, oh, young man over there that was whatever MVP of the team. He's like, yeah, very muscular, strong legs. It's like, what? You know what I mean? But it's over and over with these weird comments about these athletes. And he's always joking, ha, you're so good looking, I hate you. And all, it's just like, what? And I get he's like trying to be funny, but again, it's just like inappropriate and just creepy. Honestly. Strait of Hormuz, let's get into Iran war day 164. This was yesterday, but they're making the same, Trump's making the same claims today.
The only one that has control of the Strait of Hormuz right now is the United States Navy. We have a blockade that's been infallible. It's a steel wall. And we let people in that we want to let in, and those people come in, and they've been coming in and they're going out. So it's actually open now. We do not let them go into Iran. They're not admitted into the strait to go to Iran. But it's open for others.
It's not open, though. It's not open. It's essentially closed. All of Iran's weapons today are domestically produced. IRGC senior commander says our drones, missiles, our fast boats, our fast attack boats, our air defense systems, and our electronic warfare systems, all of our weaponry is completely indigenous. They're claiming they're self-contained military industrial complex in Iran. That's what they're claiming here now. After we've defeated Iran multiple times, blowing up all of their military multiple times, according to claims by Trump, it's just simply not the case. Rizazi, the newly appointed Secretary of Iran's Supreme National Security Council, laid out Tehran's conditions for reopening the Strait of Hormuz. Iran's message is clear. The Strait of Hormuz will not reopen until the United States ends the war and blockade, releases Iran's frozen assets, and agrees to a regional ceasefire, including in Lebanon and Gaza. Well, we know our greatest ally will never allow that to happen. Here it is, this dude. I guess he moved up. He was like retired and advising on the side. Part of me says he didn't want to be assassinated when they're doing the big hit jobs. But yeah, here he is. And so we know our greatest ally will never let this part happen. They'll probably never let any of it happen, but especially this part about ceasefire. I thought we already had multiple ceasefire agreements in Lebanon and Gaza, but yet they continue to stack bodies. Strange how that works, isn't it? Until all conditions are met, the strait will remain closed. But Trump just told us yesterday it was open. He told us today it's open. We'll take a look at that a little bit more in the economic section. More out of Iran. Speakers here now. Iran accuses the United States of compulsive addiction to sanctions after Treasury's threat. Baghdadi, Iran's foreign ministry spokesman, criticized renewed U.S. sanction threats earlier today after Treasury Secretary Bitchute spoke of suffocating Iran through economic pressure. I thought we already did that. We're on a loop of repeated propaganda here. Here's what he said. Said the United States Secretary of Treasury has boasted of suffocating Iran through economic sanctions. Beyond its sheer pathos, the claim is a stark testament to America's compulsive addiction to sanctions. Whenever Washington proves itself incapable of pursuing diplomacy, it retreats into sanctions, and whoever those sanctions fail to produce And whenever those sanctions fail to produce results, it simply increases the dose. This is no longer policy, it is habit. And more dangerous still, it is an addiction that has displaced thought itself. Iran has demonstrated over decades that it will not be strangled by these exhausted refrains. The real risk is that American politicians clinging to this bad habit will instead strangle their own remaining chances of a less humiliating exit from a crisis of their own making. The Hormuz report now says and they're referencing a report out of the Wall Street Journal. They say Gulf energy producers have completely lost faith in the Trump administration and are quietly accepting Iran's permanent control over the Strait of Hormuz because the alternative, returning to war, would be worse. Gulf states don't like the emerging deal that formalizes Iranian oversight of inbound ships, but they see it as the least bad option compared to further military escalation, which would put their energy infrastructure at risk. The conflict has left the region vital to global energy security with no good option for countering Iran. Trump's told us we've already defeated Iran multiple times, and now this news comes about? Shocking. The numbers are stark. Crude exports through the strait have collapsed to 2.2 million barrels per day from 8.5 million a month ago. Pre-war flows of roughly 20 million barrels per day are now a distant memory. Gulf states' alternative export routes are now under attack. Saudi Arabia's Red Sea pipeline hit by Houthi strikes. Egypt's Damietta port struck by drones. Iranian officials have declared the new Iranian order in the strait is irreversible, and the United States has no alternative but to accept it or face cost much greater than in the past. Iran already holds effective control over the strait, with commercial shippers refusing to cross without Tehran's assurance. The Wall Street Journal's conclusion is stark. Gulf states are adapting to a new normal where Iran's veto over their energy exports is permanent. The United States has been pushed out of the Gulf militarily, and the alternative to accepting Iran's control, a return to full-scale war, is worse. Iran claims 7 killed in bloody clashes aboard U.S. warships to Sim News, citing sources. It's claimed by Iranian state television. Keep that in mind. Abraham Lincoln crew complain about limited food rations and mold in the showers. Protests break out as crew throws bottles mid-speech at general. There may be mutiny going on in the U.S. Navy, putting up this blockade there on the Strait of Hormuz. Some reports are saying. There was other reports saying some sailors were trying to jump off the ship. So this analyst, who's this guy out of, he was on Rick Sanchez's show. What the heck's this guy's name? Analyst out of Tehran. What's it? Ali Akbar Dar Imi. He says that the U.S. has 2 options: escalate further and target Iran's infrastructure, or end the war. End the war, Trump. Just end it. Walk away. Say you won. Whatever. Have Fox News pump a bunch of propaganda, lies like usual, and just say we won. Iran is not even, they're nothing now, right? And all of your idiot followers believe it and just go out the back door and let's end this damn thing and bring the price of gasoline down in this country. It's quite ridiculous at this point. It's embarrassing. Trump says Iran agrees to deal privately, but is refusing publicly. How's that? It makes no damn sense. It makes no damn sense. So either they're running some kind of big op on Trump, Kushner, Witkoff, Rubio, the whole crew, or Trump's lying, or both. But, oh yeah, they say we have a peace deal, but they're still shooting at us. Well, we had a ceasefire, but we're stacking bodies over there. That's where we're at here in the Persian standoff in the Strait of Hormuz on day 164 of the Iran war. Not looking good. Looking quite horrific for the world economy as per design. We'll get into later in the show this continued effort to cause a massive energy shortage. They're blowing up the world's energy infrastructure. There was a attack on a Libyan petroleum production facility that no one's even, they don't even say who did it. They're just like a drone. We have video of it. A drone just crashed into it, blew up a big old part of this Libyan petroleum production. So engineered energy crisis, engineered famine, all per design here now. All right, on to U.S. public health news. Are we allowed to even report about the miracles? I don't know. This is right from the government, so we'll see. This was announced yesterday, executive order on the miracles. And people are saying this woman right here is a android. I think it's an actual woman. She does have a speaking part in this little press conference they set up yesterday. But let's hear Bobby Kennedy Jr. first.
Something happened in the mid-90s.
Is this lady an android? I don't know. She looks very android-ish. She doesn't look as creepy as old Michael Dell's wife, if you remember that. Her robot Stefford wife features. But keep an eye on her and also pay attention to Bobby Kennedy.
90s that changed our children, and it has to be an environmental exposure. Because genes don't cause epidemics. It can provide a vulnerability, but you need an environmental toxin. And what the president has charged us with is finding which one of those exposures or which collection of exposures are causing this epidemic.
We have an epidemic of no accountability, actually, because the 86 indemnity for the makers of the miracles. Here's NIH director Bhattacharya. Play a little bit of that.
Today's a historic day for public health in this country. The executive order recognizes the plight of millions of parents across the country with autistic children. Autism is a very complicated condition with very heterogeneous, ranging from relatively mild symptoms where kids are full functioning to a devastating condition that fundamentally alters their lives and the lives of their families. You've heard from Secretary Kennedy and from the President their passion for the plight of these families, to see how we can help them understand the condition, to help prevent those conditions from happening in the first place. And what this executive order does is it orders us at HHS to take this extremely seriously, as we have been for the last year and a half and more of the presidency. At the NIH,
all I can say is look up encephalitis caused by miracles. Okay, here's the woman. People online are claiming she's an android. She says she's a mother and concerned about the health of her children.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm a mom, first and foremost. I have a 3.5-year-old and I have another one on the way. And Mr. President, we are so thankful for all the work you've done in this country with the vaccines, the food systems, you as well, Secretary Kennedy. I believe health is the #1 issue in this country. If you don't have health and we don't have a healthy country, we don't have anything at all. And no parent should feel the pressure of immediately their child is born and a bunch of vaccines are pressured and pushed upon them. This is about freedom at the end of the day. This is what this country was built on, freedom for parents to make the decisions that best suit their kid. And I'm not anti-vaccine at all, I'm pro-vaccine, but we want to be able to have the freedom to space it out and to choose which one works for our child. We don't believe that there's a one-size-fits-all solution for every child. So we're so thankful for every...
I don't know. Is she an android? I don't know. People make crazy claims on the internet all day, every day. Here's a fact sheet. They claim gold standard childhood miracle recommendations. 11 core miracles recommended for all children. Could read them all right there. 6 miracles recommended for shared decision making. They got the bat on there. That's been thoroughly debunked as not working at all. But hey, what the hell? If the doc can make a buck, who are we to stop them, right? Oh, excuse me. Separate the combined MMR miracle into 3 single shots there. Administer all miracles during separate visits. And so, as they say, it's a work in progress here, and I don't want to comment too much on it. Those longtime listeners know that we have done all of our work exposing all this a long time ago, and in large part why we suffer such censorship. So I don't want to go there anymore because I've already done my work about it, and I advise everybody do your own research about it. Moving on here now. It's a step in the right direction. It's falling way short, in my opinion, about what actually needs to be done in regards to the miracles. But hey, that's what happened with the executive order yesterday. I'm very disappointed, but hey, it is what it is, as they say. Moving on here now to, and this is good, I do believe, that Medicaid will no longer fund gender transition surgeries and hormones for minors. Here's what Trump had to say earlier today about that. He said, today, at my direction, Dr. Oz announced that Medicaid will no longer fund gender transition surgeries and hormones for minors. We are not going to pay for our innocent children to undergo these barbaric surgeries and practices, which result in unthinkable and irreversible harm to their young bodies. Thanks to our strong position and pressure on the issue over the past year and a half, dozens of U.S. hospitals have already ended the so-called gender-affirming care, and we expect many more to follow. Just think about all the young, innocent, and perhaps confused children who will be spared. While the Democrat Party wants your kids to be able to chop off their reproductive organs before they are old enough to vote, President Donald J. Trump, I love when he talks about himself in the third person. It's so ridiculous, right? Continuing, and the Republican Party say that is absurd, and we will protect America's children. Please remember this when you are casting your vote in the midterm elections in November. I don't know, bro. Protecting the children, I don't know if that's going to trump. I can't even afford to feed the children over here with the horrific economy that is under your watch there. And it's getting stale and old. Oh, it's Biden's fault, bro. Come on. You shut everything down during Operation Warp Speed and printed a bunch of money. And it's just, come on, man. You got to take some responsibility. Trump never takes any responsibility for much of anything now, does he? A little bit more from HHS Public Health here now. They posted this. A historic step toward greater transparency in our food supply. HHS has issued a proposed rule to reform the generally recognized as safe GRAS standard that would require manufacturers to notify the FDA when they determine that any ingredient is safe to add to our food supply. Well, that's good of them. The FDA's, remember, they said, well, it's approved by the FDA, really? And then you go look, how many things have been approved by the FDA and then pulled off the market due to public health safety concerns? I forget even the numbers. We ran them at the time, at the bat times, but it literally means jack. But they still try to act like, oh, FDA approved. It means jack, honestly. All right, moving on here. ARPA-H, a spinoff of DARPA. So now we have military intelligence involved here, high up military intelligence involved in public health. Kind of scary. Let's hear, Bobby Kennedy Jr. here says next month, ARPA-H is preparing a major new initiative focused on foundational causes and biology of autism and on better diagnostics, treatments, technologies, and tools for people with autism and their families. It's a short clip.
Next month, ARPA-H is preparing a major new initiative focused on foundational causes and biology of autism and on better diagnostics, treatments, technologies, and tools for people with autism and their families. We will examine every biologically plausible hypothesis and leave no legitimate scientific question unexplored.
You trust ARPA-H? Call me skeptical. I don't. Sadly enough. All right, moving on to Epstein didn't kill himself on this day yesterday, 7 years ago. So it's already been 7 years since Epstein didn't kill himself in that prison. Epstein reportedly claimed Donald Trump only ran for president so he could misbehave with impunity. That's according to a report out of International Business Times UK. Donald Trump's decision to run for president in 2015 was reportedly driven by more than political ambition. According to biographer Michael Wolff, Jeffrey Epstein claimed Trump saw the White House as a new platform for his fading television career and as a place where he could pursue women with the kind of impunity he associated with Presidents John F. Kennedy and Bill Clinton. Makes sense. Makes sense. He urgently needed a new platform. Remember, the President of America, Donald Trump, is an actor. He's in the WWE Wrestling Hall of Fame. He was the star of the reality TV show The Apprentice. You would think America would learn after Reagan, but apparently not. Apparently not. We love actors as our top political leaders in this country. What happened to Epstein's Zorro Ranch? 5 questions still unanswered. Newsweek reports here now. And so we've been reporting on Epstein's Zorro Ranch. The New Mexico Attorney General, Raul Torres, he's trying to investigate there, and he's being blocked. His efforts are being obstructed by Trump's Department of Justice, led now by Todd Blanche. And he was acting director until he was officially sworn in today by Trump. Why was Zorro Ranch never searched by federal agents? What happened to the FBI's 2007 probe of Zorro Ranch? The FBI visited Zorro Ranch in February of 2017 and interviewed the property's manager about masseuses on the property. Because remember, that was the whole weird entry into it is a Epstein a massage, and then maybe he's going to masturbate or lick his feet or whatever weird thing. They're doing all these weird, psychological operations on their victims, trauma-based mind control, as well as soft introducing them into all this weirdness through massages. What evidence does the DOJ have that New Mexico can't see? Who visited Zorro Ranch? What allegations have been made? Like, it's all sealed up, right? What is Zorro Ranch? Mum's the word at the Justice Department, actively blocking the state of New Mexico's investigation into it. We've been reported on this. I don't even know if was this the same place. This Michigan art school, an art school where Epstein allegedly preyed on students, reveals decades of abuse. Paul Bush was 16 years old when he was sexually abused by his ballet teacher at Interlochen Center for the Arts in 2005. This is a report out of NPR. In the report, former Interlochen students recount some 70 allegations of sexual abuse by nearly 50 adults who were employed or affiliated with the school from the 1950s to the early 2010s. "50 adults abusing children there over what? 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, over 60 years. Like, they've institutionalized abuse at this art school. My question about all these stories that I always think, why is there no, and we don't hear about, why is there no victims taking up some vigilante justice to serve up to their abusers? You know what I mean? Are they too traumatized? Like, no one in their family, dad, uncle, brother, sister, mother, when they find out about that they were raped as children by adults, no one ever wants to take up what the law won't. You know what I mean? Or does that happen and we just don't hear about it because they won't report about it? I don't know. But I always think about that. How could this much abuse be going on and no one ever actually does anything about it without the authority? You know what I'm saying? Anyhow, just, yeah, massive abuse. Epstein donated a bunch of money there. His kind of art university, you could say. You could say quite horrific. Quite horrific indeed. Who is Mary Odysee? Meet the J.P. Morgan banker behind Infantino's, that's the president of FIFA, soccer dude, right? Failed FIFA stake sale as her Jeffrey Epstein ties spark controversy. Well, let's take a look at who she is. Here she is. Her. We can trust J.P. Morgan bankers, right? And their attorneys. Sure we can. For years, Mary Odysee has been one of the most powerful people on Wall Street, even if most football fans had probably never heard her name. That changed after she was identified as a key J.P. Morgan figure behind Gianni Infantino's controversial plan to sell a 20% stake in a new FIFA commercial business. Now, a report by The Telegraph has put another part of Odysee's career under the spotlight, her documented professional dealings with Jeffrey Epstein, including contact that continued years after his 2008 conviction. And so we learned a lot about that, right? Who is she? She was born in California in 1967. built her career around scams, schemes, and fraud. No, built her career around numbers, finance, and wealth management. She studied mathematics at Georgetown University before completing her MBA at Harvard Business School and joined J.P. Morgan in 1996 after working in several areas of finance. Infantino wanted to sell around 20% of FIFA's new commercial business for roughly $4.2 billion. JP Morgan was involved in the investor process. Documents show does had professional contact with Epstein. Yeah, well after he was a known child abuser and a PDF, right? Sure. But what the hell? Who are we to question JP Morgan bankers? Award-winning drama. This was a crazy one. I didn't even see this before, but I was just doing my Epstein search for the show, and who knew? It's come out now from online investigators. Award-winning drama with over 500 episodes predicted Epstein filed 20 years ago before it actually happened. Fans on X have realized that the beloved show not only predicted the Epstein files 20 years before he was arrested, but there was actually an episode which is almost exactly the same as the horrific crimes he committed before his death. I need to go watch this one. It's Law and Order SVU is the show they're talking about. The Epstein files are now a worldwide shorthand for the documents released by the U.S. State Department after an investigation into the late financier PDF ring that has implicated numerous high-profile names. Well, they got that part right. The State Department didn't release it. The Justice Department did. So maybe they need to edit their reporting here a little bit better. But continuing, though featuring in the files is not a sign of guilt, Donald Trump has been heavily criticized for his name being featured in the files. Fans were therefore shocked when a viral X post showed the TV show Law and Order Special Victims Unit included a file labeled Epstein in its very second episode. And here it is. Let's take a look at that. And so everybody can see out there. I'm going to have to go watch this Law and Order SVU. Now, here it is. Well, I guess it won't play for us, but you can see right there Epstein labeled on that binder as if they're investigating it on a Law and Order SVU some 20 years before any of this became publicly known. Interesting. And it's hung up on the X. They don't want to let us play that. Interesting there. And I don't think it's my machine over here because I'm working pretty fresh on this machine. And I don't know. These glitches do happen. So I'm going to follow up on this for sure. Probably watch that show and I'll report back to you. And maybe you can watch it as well. It's season 1, episode 2 of Law and Order SVU, which aired in 1999. An Epstein file can be seen on the spine of the binder there, labeled Epstein. Who knew? Well, maybe Hollywood knew all along. Todd Blanche, king of the Epstein files cover-up there, him and old Cash Patel. He won the gold medal for it there at the Winter Olympics, if you can remember back that far. Now, Todd Blanche has been confirmed during my vacation here now for by the Senate for Attorney General. He had his official swearing in ceremony earlier today. Here it is. So the Epstein files cover up will continue with Todd Blanche leading the Department of Justice. And all the idiot MAGAs, yeah, we got our guy. We're getting a deep state. Oh, we're getting Hillary. It's like, bro, this guy was a Democrat before like 2 years ago or something. It's just all the government, Republicans and Democrats are all working together against you and I, the American people. I'm sad to report to you here now. And this is all political theater because when it actually matters, Todd Blanche is blocking the release of the Epstein files. The redactions are still there, and he's doxed the victims as well. Where are we at here? We got like 9 minutes before the top of the hour. Let's get into economic reporting here now. Howard Lutnick, our sitting Commerce Secretary under Trump, was next door neighbors with Epstein in New York, took his family vacation on Epstein Island, had the weird mask with the dentist chair that looks very similar to him, like they're doing some type of dark occultist satanic rituals, trauma-based mind control, all this. It schemes, scams, frauds, and never ends with Howard Lutnick. He rigged up the tariffs. He knew the tariffs were unconstitutional. They were going to get ruled unlawful. They were going to fail. He knew it ahead of time. He bet against them. He bet they would fail because he knew it was all illegal what he was doing. Profiteered handsomely off the back of the American consumer. Just one of many. And oh yeah, he just miraculously didn't show up to work because he was concerned about his child attending kindergarten on 9/11. Well, the majority of his company did show up to work, Cantor Fitzgerald, at the World Trade Center, and tragically died in the terrorist attacks because the building fell at free fall speed, near free fall speed. Gee, manies, man. Here's Howard Lutnick running another scam on the American people.
We've done a deal between the census and the post office. Because think about it. What's the job of the census? To go to everybody's house and find out who lives there, how many people are there, count the people. So we're doing a test right now. In 2 locations, we've got census takers in the post office truck, driving around. And what happens is the postman drives by a house and says, we don't have to go in that house. Nobody lives there. They know where everybody lives, and they really have deep knowledge of who lives everywhere. So they can confirm it for the census. It's going to say
they know where everybody lives and have deep knowledge of. How do you even double talk like this? Listen to this double talk.
Of who lives everywhere. So they can confirm.
Let me go back a little more here.
Deep knowledge of who lives everywhere. So they can confirm it for the census. It's going to save us that house. Nobody lives there. They know where everybody lives, and they really have deep knowledge of who lives everywhere. So they can.
What the hell?
Confirm it for the census. It's going to save us billions of dollars. This is the smart Commerce Department under the great Trump administration.
So there you go, turning your mailman into a secret spy as if the post office censors the mail. They'll read your mail. Yeah. So many documented cases. And now, hey, your mailman is now a secret spy commissioned by Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick to save taxpayer money, like he gives a damn about that. It's just completely and utterly ridiculous. Senate passes bill that could change nickels and how you pay with cash. Report out of the Hill. The United States is inching closer to ditching its penny. The Treasury Department announced that they will be minting no more new pennies because it costs like 3 cents to produce a 1 cent penny coin, right? Continuing here, ditching its penny and potentially replacing its nickel following the Senate's passage of the, quote, Common Sense Act, and it's Sense, C-E-N-T-S, Common Sense Act this weekend. Don't you love how Congress passes very important bills to our economic life on the weekend, on holidays when nobody's paying attention, over summer break? I just love it. The Senate passed a bill, a version of which already passed the House with unanimous consent on Friday. Broadly speaking, it tackles three aspects of our currency. The Common Sense Act formally calls for an end of penny production. If you've been following the drawn out death of the penny, you know the U.S. minted its final 1 cent coin for circulation last year. Collectible pennies for America's 250th anniversary were released earlier this year. They remain a legal tender, even if retailers have none to give you as change when you pay with cash. The Federal Reserve would have to limit distributions in penny supply. The bill would also address some of the difficulties of paying with cash that have materialized since the end of penny production. They created the freaking problem. There's no problem paying with cash except for the government. Under the Common Sense Act, businesses would be allowed the option to round cash transactions to the nearest nickel. Well, isn't that good of them? I want my damn exact change. This is bullshit. For example, a $19.82 purchase becomes $19.80. Well, I guess if you round down, I want it, right? I mean, no, it's all bullshit. Even rounding down. And of course, you know they're always going to round up, right? Well, a $19.83 purchase becomes $19.85, for example. As simple as it sounds, some states and localities have laws prohibiting the practice. Well, I would hope so. But if you've noticed, I do transactions largely in cash. The majority of the cashiers out there can't even freaking count, bro. I give them my cash. I look at the bill. I give them my cash. I already calculated in my head what my change should be. I already know. And they're sitting there looking around like they don't know how to even do a transaction in cash. It's a sad state of affairs for America's cashiers, in my own personal experience over the last few years. Okay, continuing. Pennies would remain legal tender under the bill as well. It's estimated that more than 300 billion pennies are in circulation around the world. More than 800 pennies or $8 worth per U.S. citizen trapped wherever a little Lincoln can hide. The penny isn't the only focus of the legislation. The nickel could also change if the Common Sense Act becomes law. The nickel, like the penny, is expensive to produce. It costs 13.31 cents to produce a single nickel in fiscal year 2025, down slightly from 13.78 cents in fiscal year 2024. Last year marked 20 consecutive years that nickel production costs remain above the coin's face value. Nickels, which contain hardly any nickel at all, shocking, another fraud scheme scam by the government. Well, here's your nickel. There's no nickel in it. Here's your copper penny. There's no copper in it. They're about 75% copper. The high cost of copper was blamed in part for the increased cost of production of a penny, which is just 2.5% copper. The Common Sense Act gives the Treasury the power to test a cheaper alternative receipt for making the 5-cent coin. So, hey, there's some precious copper in these nickels now. Keep that in mind as the economy gets tougher and tougher as we move forward. Both versions of the bill call for a composite of zinc and nickel for the coin, subject to testing and evaluation. That shows it cuts cost and has a minimal adverse impact on machines designed to accept coins. Only the penny and the $1 coin currency use zinc, which is nearly $7,000 per metric ton cheaper than copper last year, the U.S. Mint reports. Changing a coin's composition can be difficult, with attempts to improve the penny failing. Steel was considered the cheapest metal option available, but it would have still cost more than a penny to produce a single 1-cent coin. Plastics and polymers wouldn't work either, since counting machines are looking for metal. For now, the nickel isn't changing and remains a legal tender. A bill to kill it remains in committee in the House. I did not know that until reading this report. It costs 13 to 14 cents to produce a 5-cent nickel. So keep that in mind for you precious metal enthusiasts out there, as precious metals are now becoming copper in our golden age of Trump's economy. Where are we at here? Well, we got a bunch more economic reporting, but I need to take the commercial break here now. Give me the like, share, subscribe, push that notification button. Made it through quite a bit of news here in the first hour. Go to weaponizednews.com/shop. Get yourself a holograph sticker over there, a white background sticker, a clear sticker. Weaponizednews.com/shop. We got t-shirts, baseball caps. We got these, we got the lapel pin. We have shot glasses. As some listeners have said, this show may induce heavy bouts of drinking. So a bunch of gear over there at weaponizednews.com/shop. The link's in the description below this video. We accept donations as well. Buy me a coffee, Bitcoin wallet address, Cash App links all in the description below this video. Become a paid subscriber at Weaponized News Substack. Everything's free on Substack. We're streaming there live now. You'll get the full show. You'll get a summary of the show and links to almost everything we talk about for documentation and further research purposes. Weaponized News Substack. The link's in the description below this video. Become a paid subscriber. Become an unpaid subscriber. I'd rather have you become a paid subscriber. Obviously, help support independent reporting and analysis brought to you 5 days a week. Broadcasting live Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 Eastern time. Excuse the vacation break. I mean, I think I did a year straight with no breaks. You know what I mean? So I don't know who else out there in the media is putting in that kind of work, but we are at Weaponized News. All right. We're putting in that work. Took a week and a day vacation. I'm back here for you today on this Tuesday, August 11th, 2026. Thank you for joining us. And thank you for bearing with me through that commercial message. Give me the like, share, subscribe, push that notification button. All of that is free. Go take a look at the store, donations, paid subscriber, all the different ways that you can help support us are in the links in the description below this video. All right, welcome back to the second half of Weaponized News on this Tuesday, August 11th, 2026 edition. Pardon me for being a bit redundant there. Okay, back to economic reporting here now. Out of UK Telegraph, they say the ingredients are coming together for a U.S. financial crisis. You don't say. The 5 top points out of this article, I'll just run through them here for you now. Massive debt rollover risk. Treasury Department must roll over $6 trillion every 3 months plus issue $2 trillion in new debt yearly. Gross financing needs to hit 45% of GDP now, heading to 60% by early 2030s versus 26% in 2010. Heavy reliance on leveraged hedge funds, stable buyers, foreign central banks fading, hedge funds now 9% of purchases, using up to 100 times leverage via the $8.3 trillion money market creates fragility like the 2020 near meltdown. Fed trapped on rates. Can't raise rates without exploding cost on the fast growing short-term debt, 25% of total. New chair Kevin Warsh in the Epstein files and his father-in-law Louder as well, all Epsteined up. Side note, faces political pressure and weak credibility, structural deficits exploding. IMF sees 7.4% plus of GDP deficits every year through 2031, driven by entitlements. It's benefits. I love how they always use that, but your Social Security you paid into your whole life is just you're a damn lazy American. That's an entitlement, bro. You've been stealing from me my whole life. You're a lazy American. Are you a commie? Past tax cuts, spending, and new military hikes. 1.5 trillion so we can blow up everything. Hell yeah, America. Geopolitical overstretch, plus loss of confidence, military expansion, free trade retreat, and eroded alliances. Well, our greatest ally in the world is killing people every day. Who cares about the economy? That's all that really matters, right? Our compounding physical strain currently masked by the AI bubble. And we've covered here the AI bubbles. Is these companies are just so ridiculously they're all bankrupt. Okay, all these AI companies are, if they're honestly, I know that's asking too much, but if they're honestly financially reporting, they're all bankrupt. Trump media company announces a massive loss and new turnaround effort. I know, shocking here, right? But don't you worry, Trump's going to get his by selling insider information and rigging up the markets. So don't you worry about Trump. The president's media company posted a massive loss in the second quarter and announced plans to ditch new business lines and refocus as a forum for users to post their views. Trump Media and Technology, the company behind the Truth Social platform, said yesterday, that it lost $238 million in the 3 months through June as it branched into businesses unrelated to media, including crypto. That was more than 10 times the loss from a year earlier. The per share loss widened to 86 cents from 8 cents. Trump rugs his investors in crypto. He rugs his investors in his media company. Shocking, I know. But don't you worry about Trump because he's getting his. Trump Media says more than 10 customers, mostly high-frequency trading firms, have signed up for its Truth API, paying $60,000 to $100,000 per month for faster access to Trump's Truth Social post. What a rigged up game it is. Trading firms are paying. Oh, we already covered that. Yeah. So Trump's going to make an announcement that they know will move the markets. The high frequency traders are going to be high frequency ahead of it. They're going to game the whole market, profiteer handsomely. And so that 60 to 100,000 per month is going to look like chump change because they're front running all of his announcements with pre-knowledge of the announcement he's going to make about contracts, policies, all these different things. The executive at the bully pulpit, the leader of the quote free world, is able to move markets with any announcement. And so it's straight up insider trading, and it's completely and utterly ridiculous. But we have to look the other way because Trump has failed at every business he's ever had. And so here's another failure, except for if you're an insider trading firm, and then you will profit handsomely. Millions of people can't afford to pay rent, feed their families, or get health care. Well, that's fine. They're putting up golden statues in D.C. Here's Interior Secretary Doug Burgum posting, when was this, yesterday? You can't afford to eat, but at least we have gold statues in D.C. That's all that really matters. Got to kill that. And they always, they never get tagged with copyright, but I certainly will. So there's these gaudy looking gold statues Trump's put up all over DC there. Yeah. Eating's overrated anyway, right? You can get $50 off your Ozempic, your synthetic Gila Monster venom, over there at trumprx.gov. So don't be complaining about eating too much. Google co-founder Sergey Brin has donated an additional $20 million to build a better California, bringing his total spending to fight the state's proposed billionaire tax to more than $100 million. See, this is like a double-edged sword. Well, it comes back to Congress, right? Congress is the one writing the tax code. And so they're the one. And so I get it, right? Tax the rich. I get it. But you got to look at Congress because they're the ones writing the tax code here now. I do believe, I'm not against it in principle, but it will be used against all of us, down to Joe Blow trying to collect nickels like me, right? So it will be used against us. And so all the liberal lefties, yeah, tax the rich, we're going to get them. What are you going to do with all that money? Feed it into more corrupt state government here in California to build a high-speed rail that doesn't work, pump in billions into homeless programs. We have bigger homeless population than ever. And it's just every program they do is built on fraud, corruption, grift, graft, schemes, scams, and stealing from you and I, the American taxpayer. This will be no different. So it may make you feel better to put a dent in these rich guys' pocket. The government's going to squander the money anyway, and they're going to work down to you and I who are looking for nickels and pennies. That's how it always works. The four biggest tech giants in the data center race say they'll spend nearly $2.4 trillion in the next few years on AI infrastructure. They're building scientific dictatorship technocracy is what this is about. Alphabet, Meta, Microsoft, and Amazon plan to spend this staggering sum mainly on data centers, money that could do immense good for millions of people if it were spent elsewhere. More Perfect Union says, More Perfect Union, get it through your head, bro. They're following the agenda of scientific dictatorship, technocracy, the greater North America, one world government region. I know that's a lot to take in, but you guys got to get on the ball and start fully understanding besides just, oh, I hate those rich tech bros. Get on the ball, man, about what's really going on behind the motivation for them doing all this here now. The fact that Meta thinks it can pay off cities and towns to bear the burden of its water-guzzling, energy-hungry, expensive, and polluting data centers is just plain insulting. Meta just announced it will invest $1 billion in U.S. cities and towns where it operates and is building AI data centers. The sum pales in comparison to the $600 billion Meta plans to spend on data centers and AI infrastructure through 2028. The company already has 160 data centers planned or under construction. Private intel firms are selling dossiers on AI data center activists and critics. That's not creepy at all. And they won't even need private intel firms. Soon enough, they'll be able to create their own dossiers on you, as they already are, a la Palantir, a la private intel firms. I like this report. Who's this out of Wall Street Journal? Jared Kushner, $5 billion Jeffrey Epstein-style Albanian resort project plan has effectively collapsed amid Iranian accusations of a $9 billion insider trading operation against him, and after prosecutors found the land was bought with forged omen documents linked to a suspected cocaine trafficker. Kushner's group paid $125 million in April to Artu Shehu for land on the Zvernek Peninsula. 2 months later, Albanian prosecutors charged Shehu with money laundering and cocaine trafficking, alleging he used forged documents to acquire the land sold to Jared Kushner. But that was a tiny golf clap for doing your due diligence there on investing the gazillion dollars that you just throw around there, Jared Kushner. What a great, successful businessman he is. The project faced mass protest over more than 60 days under the Flamingo Revolution, with thousands opposing environmental destruction and land theft. This is the second time Kushner has faced project collapse in the Balkans after local opposition, following a similar withdrawal in Belgrade, Serbia. Previously, Iranian officials told Dropsite News that Iran had calculated $9 billion in profits from market manipulation by individuals close to Trump, mainly Kushner and Steve Witkoff. Tehran warned Vance that Kushner and Witkoff were more interested in exploiting insider knowledge to profit than reaching a peace deal. You think? Otherworldly levels of corruption. And a lot of people have died because of it as well. And we're on day 164 of the Iran war. Thank you very much, Kushner and Witkoff, there for complete and utter failure. If we were a real country and this was a serious world, these guys would be laughed out of the room for their complete and utter failure at diplomacy, unless that was their job to start this war. There's no other way to go about looking at this. Moving on now to more scams. Be aware they're now in Arizona. Let's watch this report out of Patriot Wire. In Arizona, it may be easier to steal a home than a TV as deed fraud grows. Be aware. And this goes all the way back. I remember covering this from the 2008 collapse. They don't even know who has the deed to many of these properties because they've sold them 10, 20, 30, 100 different times in all of the derivatives, right? They package up the mortgage and they sell it and they bet against it. They bet for it every which way. All these different exotic financial derivatives, credit default swaps, and all the rest of it, right? If you can remember back to those times. And so there is no clear ownership to the deed of many of these properties, going all the way back to them, because it's been diluted so far. Oh, it got sold to this firm. They went bankrupt. Everybody committed suicide or whatever the hell they did, fled the freaking aardvark land or whatever. All these different scenarios of all the fraud that went on for the 2008 collapse. And so there's many properties out there with no clear deed of title. Let's watch the report about the scam going on there in Arizona now.
That day, the county assessor has sent me an email reminding me to pay property taxes on one of my properties, but it didn't tell me which property. And as a realtor, I have access very quickly to tax records. I popped in my last name, and my dad's house didn't show up. Immediately, I put in his address, and it was on the market. It was for sale. When I pulled up in front of the house, there was a for sale sign in the house. It was Zillow, and the realtors that represent Zillow, I wanted it out. And I lifted it out of the yard, and I dragged it down the street, and I threw it in a ditch. I couldn't get in the house. They changed the locks on me. My next step was to call the police. And it was pretty cold. I didn't have a key into the house. And so I sat out in front of the house waiting for the police about 4 hours. I had a copy of the deed to show them that my dad did not sign the deed 18 months after he passed away. When the police came, they told me to stay out of the house, that it was no longer my house, and that if they found me in the house, they would arrest me. And I had the locks changed the next day. I took possession. You know, we hadn't cleaned the house out. I had gone through things. I had a pile of things that I wanted to keep from my dad. And my brother was coming out the next week. It was Christmas time. And everything my dad owned was gone. Deed fraud is so easy to do because there are no stops. Anyone can purchase a notary stamp online. And you stamp it and you sign it and you go into the county recorder and it gets recorded and you've just stolen a house. Or you call a realtor, and if the first realtor figures it out, you call the next realtor or the next realtor. And if a title company figures it out, you call the next one and the next one.
You're aware they're running the scam out there, similar to Aardvark's, what they do with Palestinian land in the occupied West Bank. They're auctioning off property there in New York all the time. So be aware. Be aware. They're running these scams, trying to steal people's property all over the place. Rand Paul, I don't believe him. He's a politician. He's not his father, Ron Paul, that's for sure. He says, he says he went to Fort Knox. Here's what he posted. He says, yes, the gold is there, all approximately 147 million ounces. It is impressive, but the real point is what it still teaches in 2026. In 1971, we severed the dollar from gold. Since then, the currency has lost roughly 85% of its value. Prices are higher because the money itself is weaker. A family making $50,000 with 2 kids that has not received a 25% raise in the last 5 years is falling behind. This is now often called affordability, but the accurate word is inflation. We run annual deficits of $2 trillion. The Federal Reserve buys about a third of that debt by creating new money. Every new dollar dilutes the value of dollars already in people's pockets. Gold does not expand when Congress spends, paper does. That's the difference. And so it's just his word. There's still no evidence. There's been no official audit of Fort Knox. So we just have to trust old Senator Rand Paul there. And I don't trust him. We need an official audit and proof that the gold's there. Until further notice, it's been stolen by the bankers. 25% of bosses admit they're losing top talent because of bad pay. Headline out of Fortune magazine. The SEC has made it easier for data center owners to sell asset-backed securities by not requiring certain disclosures, and investors protections, according to Bloomberg. It's just it's scam upon scam upon scam with this AI bubble now, with this data center bubble. As we continue to report, it's a circle jerk of their financing themselves. They're all bankrupt. They're not transparently reporting on their balance sheet their debt. They take a bunch of debt, they put it on a shell company balance sheet, and they say, "Look at us, we're solvent, we're doing great." Debt to asset ratio, all these different financial ratios. Look at us. No, you're lying. You're insolvent. You hid your debt on another company's balance sheet. It's friggin' fraud. Oh, but it's okay because we have to build a scientific dictatorship and bring about the friggin' mark of the beast and all this insanity. It's just, no, you guys are a bunch of fraudsters, man. Ridiculous. U.S. strategic petroleum reserves are at their lowest level in 40 years, according to Bloomberg. 90% of Americans polled say groceries and food prices are a top cost concern. Well, there's just a bunch of communists. That's all. That's their answer, right? Like, bro, I can barely afford to buy a freaking sandwich over here. And they're like, well, you're damn commie. It's like, well, thanks. You're a piece of garbage liar. You know what I mean? It's absurd. And what is causing this? In large part, the price of gasoline, diesel specifically. We may dip below, and this price is obviously heavily manipulated. We're being price gouged by Rockefeller oil oligarchs all the way through this Iran war. Trump says he'll look into it. Whoop-de-friggin' do. Meanwhile, it's a bankrupting Joe Blow American. According to AAA, the national average for the price of a gallon of gasoline is now still above $4 at $4.01. Can see right there. What was it? It was up a little bit from yesterday, about 1 cent from yesterday, and hanging in tough above $4 threshold. Let's take a look now at Brown University, the Watson School of International and Public Affairs, Iran War Energy Cost Tracker. We're up to $82.8 billion here now, total consumer cost burden since the beginning of the Iran war, February 28, 2026. And per U.S. household cost burden spread across both gasoline and diesel is up to $632.42. You can see right there. And I believe this is under reporting. I believe this is conservative numbers. I believe it's even worse than that. The Houthis there out of Yemen hit a Saudi-linked ship carrying military equipment there in the Bab al-Mandab Strait earlier today. Here's a video of that damage. The ongoing war there between Saudi Arabia and the Houthis in Yemen. Right here, right, as we continue to report. Yeah, try to drive through here, and you may get shot in the face by the Houthis, especially Saudi Arabia. You will get shot in the face if you have anything to do with Saudi Arabia there. What did they say here about that? Yeah, warning. They're these ship tracker companies are putting out warnings. Yeah, well, yeah. And the Houthis, Ansarallah has said that, right? That, hey, we're going to whack you guys. You drive through here. According to Wall Street Journal, U.S. fires on ship in Gulf of Oman. U.S. forces fired on a Panamanian flagged vessel earlier today after it attempted to bypass Washington's naval blockade of Iranian ports. Maritime security firm Vanguard separately reported that the Panamanian flagged container ship Vala Nova was struck by a missile fired from a helicopter while traveling westbound through the Gulf of Oman, about 71 nautical miles off of Pakistan, starting a fire that was later extinguished. All 17 crew members were accounted for, with no immediate reports of casualties. I guess that's good. Yeah, U.S. helicopter bombs cargo ship in the Gulf of Oman, as it says is our responsibility in the Constitution, right? Sure. We're police of the Strait of Hormuz. It's just beyond the pale of ridiculous. Iran war. Khomeini Mullah regime still in charge. Strait of Hormuz closed. We won the war many times. Iran still, who knows? They're working on their nuclear program. None of this was happening before we bombed them and whacked their supreme leader and killed all the school kids, schoolgirls, right? Strait was open. It was the same regime. U.S. intelligence and the State Department said there was no imminent nuclear threat from Iran. Trump bought Bibi, shadow president of America, propaganda and lies. He's been peddling to U.S. administrations for the past 30 freaking years. It's that ridiculous. Massive environmental damage going on here now. There's an oil slick near Oman. Natural reserve spreads across nearly 400 square kilometers, leaking oil from a tanker grounded near a natural reserve in Oman has spread across nearly 400 square miles. The Omani government said on Monday the Caroline Bizingi, carrying nearly 1 million barrels of Russian crude bound for Asia, first encountered problems off Yemen on June 8th. Two maritime security sources told Reuters initial assessments suggested an explosion had occurred aboard the vessel. No group has claimed responsibility for the incident. Shocking that nobody would want to take responsibility for causing this massive oil spill. Oman publicly disclosed the environmental impact for the first time yesterday, saying authorities were working to contain the oil leak near the Halaniyat Islands. Greenpeace estimated last week that the spill had reached around 600 square kilometers based on analysis of satellite imagery. Here's that imagery. Oh, it's good for your health. What the hell? Yeah. Should have paid Iran the environmental fee. U.S. forces fired 50 Patriot interceptors in a single day during last month's Iranian attacks on bases in Jordan. Roughly $200 million in one day at $4 million per interceptor. Iran used course-changing missiles to force heavy expenditure and deplete scarce Patriot missile stocks, according to the failing New York Times. And we continue to report on that. Iran has good accountants. America has accounts that don't give a F, because the Pentagon never has to provide financial statements or pass an audit before they get $1.5 trillion more. And all the trillions for the last, since what, 2018, when it was mandated they are financially audited. And they can't even audit them because their books are in such bad shape. They don't account for anything. And the auditors say we can't even audit you because you don't even have a set of freaking books to audit because it's such a ridiculous fraud scheme scam. Give them 1.5 trillion. Yeah, Congress, sure. It's just, man, in our face corruption, and they just up it and up it and up it. No accountability. And, well, it just proves Iran has good accountants, America, not so much as at the Pentagon. In April 2026, Iran shot down a U.S. F-15E over southern Iran with a shoulder-fired surface-to-air missile. Remember we did that report before I went on vacation, 2 weeks ago, about China was going to provide them a bunch of these shoulder-fired missiles to Iran. China publicly denied it. Who was it? I think it was Reuters had all the receipts, the contracts in a big report they did about it. It looks like that deal did happen. Obviously, that's after this April attack where they claim they shot down this F-15E. Iran appears to adapt tactics seen in Ukraine using drones to provide the jet's GPS location, speed, and direction to Iranian commanders, helping them target it. The crew had only about half a second of warning before the $60 million aircraft was hit, according to a report out of the failing New York Times there. Shocking. Iran is adapting their military strategy during the war, which we've won multiple times. They have no military, but somehow, some way, these reports are coming out where they're making us look like just complete bumbling fools. Some good news here now. I don't even know, but what the hell? It's American. We got to at least be happy he's coming home. Trump allegedly brokered a deal to bring home American citizen Robert Gilman, a former Marine who was in a Russian prison. He was imprisoned in Russia in 2022 during the Biden administration. And Trump says, after my discussions with Putin, Russia's agreed to release him. So we got this Marine back that was in a Russian prison since 2022. Some good news, right? Maybe. I don't know if this guy's a complete dirtbag war criminal, but what the hell? Got that Merkin out of Russian jail. All right. A Trump-linked oil firm to begin drilling in Greenland without official permission. According to UK Guardian, Greenland Energy, a U.S. oil company established last year with ties to Trump, recently unloaded drilling equipment on Greenland's east coast without securing permission from local authorities. Greenland's Department of Industry and Minerals issued a strong warning that it had authorized neither the shipment nor its arrival on shore, stating that every logistical step tied to the project must be cleared in advance by the Mineral Resources Authority. Residents of the thinly populated Jameson Land region had watched a tug haul a barge toward the coast and offload roughly a dozen containers. The equipment was brought in for planned oil exploration drilling at Nunap Quika, according to a government statement from Greenland. Executives at the firm have claimed that as much as $1 trillion worth of crude oil lies beneath Jameson Land, with the site chosen partly because it is isolated. The head of the shipping company confirmed that Greenland Energy was the recipient of the equipment building the greater North America here now. I guess we're just taking it. We don't even care. Oh, you got $1 trillion. Who cares? We'll just go steal it. That is all the niceties, and we're the great liberators of the free world and all this. That's out the window with Trump. He just literally sticks a gun in your face, says, we're taking your gold, oil. In Venezuela's case, we're stealing your president. Now Greenland, we're stealing your oil, bro, or we'll just shoot you in the face. Gangster capitalism, dare I say, coming out of Imperial America. Out of Syria, Syria court sentences former President Bashar al-Assad to death after trial in absentia, according to a report out of Reuters. So if he goes back to Syria with that current government of former reformed terrorist al-Qaeda man, al-Shara, acting president now, I guess they'll whack him with the death penalty. I don't think he's going back anytime soon. Irish government to develop new national strategy for women and girls, warning about the, quote, manosphere, where male influencers propagate misogynistic views, hate speech, and trad wife influencers promote restrictive stereotypical roles for women and girls. So yeah, follow the red pill manosphere out there, fellas, and never get laid. All right, continuing here. I talked about this a little bit earlier, but here's the video of it. Libya's National Oil Corporation says a drone attacked its Zawiya oil blending plant. It follows several dozen drone strikes around the area since August 8th. No group claims responsibility. Who's doing this? Could it be the sneaky aardvarks? Could it be America? We don't know. Nobody's claiming responsibility. Here's a video of their petroleum manufacturing facility. They're up in flames, hit by a drone, part of the engineered energy crisis. Maybe they did like Putin with the Nord Stream and they blew up their own, right? Sure. But just another dot connecting to the global engineered energy crisis that will lead to global famine, that will lead to global depopulation, all by design. Netanyahu thanks Colombia for recognizing the Syrian Golan Heights as aardvark territory. He says the Golan Heights belong to them in the 8th century AD, and so they have a right to it now. Aardvark land was formed in 1948, and they captured the Golan Heights during the Six-Day War between June 5th and 10th, 1967. This is also when Aardvark land attacked the USS Liberty on June 8, 1967. Colombia and the U.S. are the only countries to recognize Aardvark land's annexation of the Golan Heights. Miriam Adelson, Trump's largest political donor, thanked Trump for recognizing the Golan Heights as Aardvark land territory in 2019. So there you have it. We wouldn't have it any other way, right? Now, Colombia has a Zionist puppet for their president. I'm sure they love democracy there. This was after, I do believe, some people are saying it's God striking down Colombia. But I do believe that announcement came after this 7.4 earthquake hit Western Colombia, killing at least 111 people. It'll be a lot more than that. This was reported by Associated Press earlier today. Here's the map on the AP. just to give it a little better idea about the epicenter right there. 7.4 magnitude earthquake in San Jose del Palomar, right there, whacking Colombia. And we do have some video. I'm pretty sure. Will they get into the ring of fire here? We just had that, what was it, about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, that giant earthquake in Venezuela? Yeah. But it hit on the other side, not quite the ring of fire. But here is the ring of fire. Japan recently had some big earthquakes, right? So yeah, we're always getting them here in California. Not real major, but yeah. And then on down right there, whacking Colombia. So yeah, you can see the ring of fire is becoming pretty active here now. Yeah, cities left devastated. Let's play a little bit. What do I got? There's this, there's a long report. I'll link to it. Well, let me just play this at the beginning of it, but this is like 16.5-minute report from Wild Weather US of the destruction. Let's just play a little bit of this report. Wild Weather US on the YouTube. Wow. And it goes on for 16 minutes of this earthquake footage, 16.5 minutes. Yeah, we're going to find out a lot more than, well, this report from RT, they're already counting up 224 dead there and 3,000 missing. I was going to say the damage that this quake caused is, the numbers are going to be a lot higher than that, even tragically enough for the Colombians. Here's the whole thing just collapses. Watch this one. Are they using earthquake weapons on them? Did God have his hand in this? Is this just a ring of fire activity? They go through in this AP article, document a bunch of seismic activity in the ring of fire recently. So I'll post all these links on Weaponized News Substack channel for those interested. But yeah, it goes on and on and on with the damage. Here's one more clip, and then we'll move on from that and keep following this tragic earthquake as it is developing in Colombia. Did aardvarks whack them with an earthquake weapon? I don't know. Did America whack them with an earthquake weapon? I don't know. After this happened, they come out and say, we support you stealing the Golan Heights. Like, what? And then a break from all of the tragic news of the day. Here's Shanghai Disney mascot. Went viral, this video on the internet, allegedly for hanging tough during a typhoon with a tiny umbrella. At Shanghai Disney. So that mascot, what the heck even is it? A guy in a bear suit, right? They say in this report more than 210,000 people were relocated across Shanghai as Typhoon Dolphin approached, while the park remained open but closed an hour early. And he hung tough there in his bear outfit through the typhoon, dedicated to the cause at Shanghai Disneyland. Russia-Ukraine war. Let's have peace, bro. Enough. What, over 2 million now, right? On both sides, reported dead. Let's stop it. I saw reports today. It's like every other day. Oh, yeah, Zelensky's talking with the White House about a peace deal. Really? Let's hope so. But I've given up hope on these reports because we see them from both sides, from Russia, from Ukraine. Oh, yeah, we're going to have a peace deal today. It never materializes. Attacks are increasing from both sides. Russia banned its only Russia's Supreme Court ruled yesterday to bar Bloko, the only officially registered party opposing the Ukrainian war. So if you're an anti-war party in Russia, you're banned and may very well be droned. Here now. 7 Uzbek citizens were among those killed in a drone attack in Russia. The Uzbek consulate said yesterday the Ukrainian attacks in the region killed 13 people yesterday. Between 2 and 3 million Uzbek citizens work in Russia, while Uzbekistan's economy partly reliant on remittances from migrant workers. Russia strikes pound Ukrainian cities, killing at least 10, report of antiwar.com. The strikes came a day after Ukrainian drone attacks killed 13 people in Russia's Nizhnekamsk. And so it's the back and forth, and we're stacking bodies, and it's senseless. It needs to end. Europe is running short on Patriot interceptors as Ukraine seeks hundreds ahead of Russia's expected winter offensive. U.S. stocks have been strained by the Iran war, while new production won't arrive in time, leaving countries like Germany, Poland, Spain, and Greece reluctant to deplete their own defensive supplies, according to a report out of Politico. Europe is running out of Patriot missiles as Ukraine braces for Russia's winter attacks. End it now, man. And there's reports earlier today. I was looking at what they're saying. Russia may be looking at taking more land actually now. Where the heck, I can't even think where the heck was it, but they're saying that, I don't know, unconfirmed reports. Ukrainian UAVs hit a major wild berries logistic hub. And so again, wild berries is the equivalent to Russia's Amazon. And we played the videos. They have air defense capabilities at some of their facilities, apparently. But they either didn't have them or they didn't work here because Ukraine bombed the hell out of their wild berries logistics hub near Novia, triggering fires. Here's some video of that. And they use the excuse, they're housing or they're using to transport or housing and selling military supplies through wild berries denies those accusations by Ukraine. Fire confirmed at Russia's Kosnef's Kosmolsk on Amur refinery. Again, attacking global energy infrastructure. Reported the tankers getting attacked, the oil's linking, Libya's oil refineries being attacked, Russia's oil refineries consistently being attacked, the Gulf of Hormuz essentially closed. All this amounts to global energy crisis leading to a global famine. Here's video of that. Another petroleum facility there. Russia says a technical failure ignited auxiliary equipment far beyond. Let's see, the refinery is roughly 6,500 kilometers from Ukraine, far beyond demonstrated Ukrainian UAV strike ranges. So see, Russia blew its own refinery up. It's fine. The point is, however it happened, it's adding to global energy crisis. And it may have been a technical failure of auxiliary equipment, as Russia claims. May very well have been, but it's still adding to the problem here now. On to the scheme, scam, fraud job of the Golden Dome. The Department of War announced earlier today, Golden Dome for America. Department of War launches the Golden Dome for America Hub. Department of War launches the Golden Dome for America Hub to accelerate industry engagement, revolutionize homeland missile defense partnerships. The new digital portal slashes bureaucratic red tape connecting commercial innovators, venture capital, and non-traditional startups directly with the Office of Golden Dome for America. At the annual Space and Missile Defense Symposium today, General Mike Gutlin, director of Golden Dome for America, announced the official launch of the Golden Dome for America Ecosystem Hub. The Hub, a groundbreaking digital platform designed to streamline collaboration between the Department of War and the commercial technology sector, accessible immediately at hub.goldendome.mil. The Hub represents a fundamental shift in how the United States builds its next generation multi-layered homeland missile defense shield by removing legacy organizational barriers. The Hub serves as a unified entry point for traditional defense contractors, commercial tech companies, venture capitalists, academic institutions, research laboratories, and non-traditional entrepreneurs to deliver innovative capabilities at the speed of the market. To defeat a new generation of sophisticated maneuvering aerial threats, we must build a defensive shield that adapts faster than the adversary, the general said. We are doing this by cutting bureaucratic red tape, harnessing innovation through partnerships, and leveraging the true power of the arsenal of freedom, fraud, and corruption. Oh, I added that part. We are dismantling the historical walls separating commercial innovation from national defense and short-circuiting the valley of death that so often stalls the deployment of critical technologies. He emphasized this paradigm shift is built upon strict physical accountability. That's quite laughable, but okay. I trust you, Army man. While we are committed to making the necessary investments to defend and protect the nation. We are equally committed to being responsible with every dollar of the $185 billion we need to deliver Golden Dome. To do that, we are leveraging commercial off-the-shelf technologies and fostering a competitive environment to drive down costs. He explained this approach helps to ensure that Golden Dome for America is not only the most effective, but also the most affordable defense system for the nation. It's only $185 billion. Defense of the homeland is a national imperative, and as a result requires a close partnership between industry and the government to leverage innovation to the maximal extent possible. The unified platform to mobilize the free market. And they go on a little bit. I'll spare you the rest of the details. You can go look it up or go to Weaponized News Substack. We'll post a link there. Call me skeptical. I don't trust them. The Pentagon has not passed a financial audit ever since 2018 mandate. But hey, we can trust them now, I'm sure, with venture capital involved. Right? Sure. It's a full mobilization of society, essentially, because they're preparing for a giant war with Russia, China, and the rest of the world, and our greatest ally, for that matter. Golden Dome for America industry portal now live. It's also very exciting. Let's take a look at it. Defend the homeland, bring your best, securing the nation through next generation layered air and missile defenses and other critical capabilities. Register your organization here. Golden Dome for America, GDA, is the nation's decisive response to current and future threats. The strategic environment has fundamentally changed, and the threat of attack by ballistics, hypersonic, and cruise missiles remains the most catastrophic threat facing the United States. GDA is a bold, once-in-a-generation vision to build a comprehensive layered defense in-depth architecture, a system of systems engineered to protect the American homeland and deter our adversaries. Accelerate defense innovation at speed and scale. Everything is warp speed, if you haven't noticed nowadays, because they got to steal as much as they can before all this collapses, you see. Maybe someday, some way, the quote voters of America would figure all these schemes, scams, and frauds out. But until then, register your organization here to be part of Golden Dome Hub for America. Here's video of the day, short clip out of the Department of War. Every inch of this country is steeped in the legacy of American warriors, they say. Again, they're going to tag me for copyright there. Apologies on muting the music there. Propaganda right out of the Department of War there on this Tuesday for you. Very creepy, actually. The Monroe Doctrine has shaped U.S. foreign policy for the past 2 centuries. Here's a video out of the Department of State, the State Department. Again, we're building, that is the U.S. State Department and the Department of War are building the Greater North America Project. Keep that in mind. Scientific dictatorship, technocracy, when you see them bragging up the Monroe Doctrine here.
It's 1823. The map of the Americas is being redrawn. Spain has spent centuries amassing a new world empire stretching from Patagonia to California. Now their grip was slipping fast. One by one, Spain's colonies are declaring independence. And back in Europe, the old empires are not taking it well. They're asking themselves, what's to stop us from taking it all back? The United States had come into being mere decades ago in the Revolution. Then we fought Britain again in the War of 1812. America was concerned of the involvement of foreign empires in the New World. Now, America sensed an opportunity to establish a new order. Britain, focused on protecting its trade with the emerging nation, proposed a joint declaration with the United States to deter intervention. But Secretary of State John Quincy Adams, suspicious of British motives, convinced President James Monroe to act independently. Monroe then declared a decree to Congress, among the boldest diplomatic statements in American history.
The American continents, by the free and independent condition which they have assumed and maintained, are henceforth not to be considered as subjects for future colonization by any European powers.
The United States, still a young frontier nation, positioned itself as the preeminent power in the New World and set the stage for centuries of American foreign policy in our hemisphere. This decree transformed America's role and standing in the global order, though initially relying on the deterrence of the British Navy to enforce it. For decades, the doctrine served as a defensive shield while America expanded westward. It was invoked when the French installed an emperor in Mexico, forcing their eventual withdrawal. It shaped debates over attempted annexations like the Dominican Republic. But these were defensive applications, keeping European powers out, not asserting American control over the hemisphere's affairs. That changed in 1895, when Secretary of State Richard Olney invoked the doctrine, declaring that the United States was practically sovereign over the Western Hemisphere and demanded Britain submit to American arbitration. He had redefined the doctrine. It was no longer just a warning, it was now a claim to regional primacy. 3 years later, war with Spain erupted, and when the smoke cleared, it transformed the hemisphere. The United States expelled Spain from Cuba, seized Puerto Rico, and stepped into the world stage as a genuine imperial power with dominance over the Caribbean. Just 4 years later, that dominance was tested again. German and British warships sailed into Venezuelan waters and blockaded its ports over unpaid debts. Roosevelt intervened and declared if a Latin American nation fell into chaos or instability, the U.S. would step in and manage it. The doctrine had started as a shield. Roosevelt had just turned it into a mandate. A critical opportunity for American leadership in the Western Hemisphere came in 1903, when Panama sought independence from Colombia. Both Europe and the US had long wanted a canal in Central America, allowing ships to cross from the Atlantic to the Pacific. After a failed French attempt, the United States saw an opening in a region with shifting political dynamics. The US backed Panamanian independence and secured a deal to construct, operate, and defend the Panama Canal. The waterway would go on to become the hemisphere's most critical artery for trade, a strategic asset for both world wars, and a testament to America's enduring leadership in the region. When Soviet missiles were discovered in Cuba in 1962, Kennedy didn't need to invent a new framework. He simply invoked the doctrine. The weapons had to go. 13 days of the most dangerous standoff in human history ended with the Soviets backing down and removing the missiles from Cuba. Reagan applied the same logic to justify opposition to Soviet-backed Sandinista regime in Nicaragua and other Marxist groups, arguing that ideological threats required the same response as military ones. Fast forward to the modern era, where the doctrine has found its latest champion in President Trump. Through the execution of Operation Absolute Resolve, the United States seized Venezuelan dictator Nicolás Maduro, transporting him to American soil to answer for charges of narco-terrorism. This calculated maneuver delivered a resident signal across the hemisphere, punctuated by President Trump's own declaration.
Under our new national security strategy, American dominance in the Western Hemisphere, will never be questioned again.
Over 2 centuries, Monroe's Declaration had shaped U.S. foreign policy across administrations and throughout fundamentally different geopolitical eras. What began as a warning to European powers evolved into a framework for regional dominance, one that remains the cornerstone of American strategy in the hemisphere today.
Oh, apologies, I was on mute. Apologies, I just caught I was on mute. Back to this. Did you know that CENTCOM originated in the 1980s? The Iranian Revolution and the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan prompted President Jimmy Carter to establish the Rapid Deployment Joint Task Force. Thank you very much for that. Right there. All right. Nobody seems to notice. Nobody seems to care. U.S. bombed Somalia for the 78th time this year. According to a report out of antiwar.com, the United States launched airstrikes in Somalia August 7th. That would be Friday. According to a press release from U.S. African Command, getting those damn terrorists insane. Think of that. We've attacked Somalia 78 times this year, and nobody reports on it, and nobody cares. It's time for our American ambassador in Aardvarkland, Mike Huckabee, to resign, says U.S. Senator Chris Van Hollen. He's called for the resignation of U.S. Ambassador to Aardvarkland, Mike Huckabee, contending that he's a religious fanatical maniac. No, I added that. Contending that ambassador has failed in his fundamental duty to defend U.S. interests and protect U.S. citizens abroad. True. He's hanging out with Pollard, convicted spy. He's straight up traitor. Should be arrested for treason at this point. Forget resigning. Arrest Mike Huckabee's punk ass. Because obviously he loves Aardvarkland more than America. He tells us all the time. It's disgusting. Lebanon's parliament has abolished the death penalty, replacing it with life in prison with hard labor. Aardvarkland's foreign minister says the IDF is stretched thin. We have soldiers in Gaza, Lebanon, and Syria. Oh, well, maybe some U.S. boots on the ground could help, huh? Aardvarkland double taps ambulance while wounds two and sets fire to fields in southern Lebanon despite ceasefire. And it's ongoing. They whack this in the systematic effort to destroy Lebanon's public health infrastructure, as we continue to report here. blew out the windows there. I guess they should be happy they didn't get whacked that hard. Some action there, leveling southern Lebanon, double tap strike, as they've become famous for. Bunch of clips out of southern Lebanon here now. Aardvark land artillery shelling targets in southern Lebanon. You can see right there, and it goes on. Let's see how much. We got a lot of these clips actually today. Burning down residential homes in Hadatha, southern Lebanon. See the smoke up there. They don't even claim they're military targets or Hezbollah or anything. They're just like, we're taking your land, Lebanese. More here. Quintara, southern Lebanon. Massive explosions. Detonations carried out there by Aardvark land military. You could see it's an ongoing campaign as we continue to report ecocide, ethnic cleansing, genocide. It's kind of the Aardvark way. More images. Majadal Zun, southern Lebanese village. Massive explosions, as you can see there earlier today. Another one, Zwatar al-Sharqiyah. Quite a powerful detonation here in this video. Yep. They're leveling the place. Ongoing as we continue to report, the southern Lebanese municipality of Zwatar al-Sharqiyah has called on the Lebanese government to intervene immediately to put a stop to Aardvark land clearing attacks and demolition of civilian homes, emphasizing that all targeted structures are private residential properties and civilian targets. But I thought there was a ceasefire. Oh, it's just to get Hezbollah. No, they're taking all that land for the greater Aardvark land project. As they've said, infinitum, and we continue to report here. There's no big mystery about it. But a lot in the U.S. media and government still, huh? What? How? What? It's like, well, they tell you every day. And you're like, but they're still whacking the Palestinians, right? Oh, yeah, they are. The genocide there continues. Aardvark land forces wounded 6 Palestinians in the last 24 hours east of Ramallah, including 2 women and 3 children, while firing tear gas at residents who were attempting to tend to their fields. One of the children was an infant filmed suffocating below. You can see right here in this clip, they hit this infant with tear gas. It's fine. He's a terrorist, right? And there's a bunch of pictures of dead kids too. I choose not to show them here because we'll probably get censored, and it is quite graphic. According to Gaza's health ministry, 1 Palestinian was reported killed after succumbing to previous injuries, while 1 other was wounded by Aardvark land attacks across the Gaza Strip over the past 24 hours. The ministry added that many victims remain trapped beneath the rubble and on roads as ambulances and civil defense teams remain unable to reach them since the so-called ceasefire on October 11, 2025. The ministry says 1,259 Palestinians have been killed, 4,146 wounded, and 807 bodies recovered from the rubble. onto the occupied West Bank. At least 6 Palestinians were injured by ultra-Zionist Aardvark settlers' attack on the village of Al-Maghayyir, northeast of Ramallah. And it goes on. Aardvark land occupation forces demolished 12 commercial warehouses south of Jenin earlier today. 12 commercial warehouses were leveled. They're taking it all. The Government Communication Center of Palestine reports that armed Aardvark ultra-Zionist settlers emptied water tanks onto the ground in front of their owners in Ain al-Hilwa in the occupied West Bank, threatening them at gunpoint amid a severe water crisis affecting local Palestinian residents. Here's video of that. Yeah. The terror by the ultra-Zionists continues in the occupied West Bank, according to local reports, including from Aardvark land organizations. Breaking the silence, a Palestinian family is being besieged by ultra-Zionist Aardvark organization occupation forces and Aardvark ultra-Zionist settlers in Kusara in the West Bank. No one is allowed in or out. No food, no ambulances, no journalists. Breaking the silence noted. So they're literally sieging these people up on their property, trying to starve them out. They'll probably burn them out next, as arson's kind of their thing as well. Part of their toolkit of terror. Aardvark land forces and ultra-Zionist settlers continue to escalate attacks on the occupied West Bank, with 504 reports of attacks in the past week alone, according to the Colonization and Wall of Resistance Commission. And they go through and name all these different sites of the 504 reported attacks in the past week alone. They're going hog wild right now. They're taking it all. And then finally here, on the Aardvark ethnic cleansing genocide reporting, Ben Gvir is using an AI-generated video of a starving Palestinian prisoner as part of his election campaign, alongside real footage mocking Palestinian prisoners who describe poor conditions in Aardvark land detention centers. Here's that video. Again, it's AI from your favorite tyrant and mine, Ben Gvir. And so this is part of his re-election campaign there in Aardvark land. So imagine using this as a campaign video and expecting for votes. Well, this is what turns Aardvarks on. Apparently, they're in Aardvark land.
איך להיות כאן? כיף ועוני. לא טוב בכלל. למה לא טוב? הם לא מסכנים, לא, אתם משפחת ביבס, אין להם אוכל. אין אוכל, אין אש. ככה עושים, מישהו אויב של המדינה שלנו. על אנשים, על התינוקות שלנו. תראו איך הם היום.
Imagine that. They're so twisted and so evil. Their campaign videos of him torturing prisoners are a great selling point to get your vote there. Imagine that. That's where we're at. That's where we're at. They're pure evil. Now, some more philosophical, esoteric, occult news to wrap it up here. Not this, really. I guess this is what? Astrology news. Tomorrow, there's going to be a solar eclipse, stunning fireball, meteor shower. So be aware that's going on tomorrow. I guess depending on where you are, parts of Europe will be able to see the total solar eclipse. I don't know wherever you may be able to wear the glasses. Don't look directly at the sun, obviously, for too long. But so that's going on. Be aware. There's going to be a meteor shower and an eclipse tomorrow. August 12th, solar eclipse will vary. And obviously weather conditions will also play a role there if you can see it. So be aware that's going on tomorrow wherever you may be, to take a look at the sky and possibly see these meteor showers. They're called stunning in this headline out of UK Independent. So that's going on tomorrow, and we'll wrap up today's show. Well, we'll play this report and we'll wrap up headlines. But let's wrap up the main reporting here with some esoteric, occult, inner dimensions of reality, dreams, and an interdimensional nature of reality report from Greg Reese.
Trained in Rosicrucian philosophies, Rudolf Steiner taught that humans have several bodies: the physical body, the etheric body, which animates the physical body, the I or the ego, and the astral body. According to Steiner, there are three different dimensional worlds existing together: the physical, the astral, and the spirit. He claimed that when you fall asleep, your astral body separates from the physical and drifts into the astral world, a realm that the astral body is native to, and that death is a complete version of this separation, followed by a retrospective review and dissension. He also taught that a person skilled at out-of-body states could enter into the astral realm at will. In Tibetan Buddhist traditions, there are 6 different dimensions of existence called bardos, and because the bardo of death and the bardo of dreams are functionally identical, dream yoga is considered the ultimate rehearsal for death. If you can maintain lucidity within the chaos of your dreams, then you will have more clarity during the chaotic transitions of death. If you can master waking up in the bardo every night, what the West calls the astral realm, so that you are no longer a character in your dreams, but fully awake, then when you die, you'll be able to awaken in the bardo and avoid being unconsciously swept into another rebirth. Born as Violet Firth, Dion Fortune was a practicing occultist and self-described psychic combatant. She was trained in the Golden Dawn Hermetic traditions and later founded her own order, the Society of the Inner Light. The core idea she taught was often summarized as above, so below. Reality is arranged in a hierarchy of planes, and causation flows down, not up. Ideas, intentions, and archetypal forces take shape first on subtler planes, the astral plane being just before the physical. And so what we see in the physical world is a crystallization of processes that came from realms above. When you shift something in the astral world, it will manifest in the physical world. In her 1930 book, Psychic Self-Defense, she describes serving with the forces of good in an endless fight within the astral realm against hostile occultists, using their will in the dream world to manipulate physical reality. She wrote that the astral realm is a contested space that you can act in, and that your actions have a direct effect on the lower physical plane. In the ceremonial magic of the Golden Dawn, the premise is that thought forms constructed in the astral plane will precipitate corresponding change on the physical plane. According to theosophical beliefs, focused, repeated thought can build stable astral structures that can then influence events and/or the minds of others. And a skilled clairvoyant can see these man-made astral objects in the physical realm. In Kabbalah, causation is mapped through the tree of life, descending from Keter, the Most High, down to Malkuth, the physical earth realm. Mind and imagination operate on a plane causally upstream of matter, and disciplined imaginative focus, or acting out rituals, is how to intervene in physical outcomes before they happen. The New Thought movement of the mid-1800s took all this knowledge, stripped out the ceremonial aspect, but kept the causality claim that thoughts become things. Neville Goddard taught that the world within, or the imaginal realm, causally precedes physical reality. By doing this, he created both a secularized and Christianized version of as above, so below. Sleep state affirmation hypnagogic scripting is one of the most powerful principles that came out of the New Thought movement. Sleep and the hypnagogic threshold are treated as privileged access points to the upstream plane, whether that's called the subconscious, the imagination, the astral, or the bardo. It is a plane where the ordinary waking mind, which might resist or doubt, is least active. The state you are in just before sleep is considered to be one of these access points, and so is the dream space. Greg Reese reporting.
I dig Greg Reese reports. Hope you guys like it as well. All right, let's just check in on the Iran International headlines, and we'll get out of here for today. Have they blown up the world while we're on air here? Trump says U.S.-owned Strait of Hormuz, warns Iran could be blown away. More empty threats. The U.S. totally controls Strait of Hormuz, Trump says. Iran to join BRICS Development Bank soon, central bank chief says. U.S. Navy tests low-cost underwater drone with 2,000-mile range. Iran fears its own people more than anything else, former U.S. envoy says. Iran proposed 30-day Hormuz corridor before U.S. objection stalled deal. The latest there out of Iran International. Let's check out the latest out of Al Jazeera. Trump says U.S., same thing, in total control of Strait of Hormuz. Bibi, shadow president of America, doesn't care what Trump wants on Iran. Cargo ship in flames after Houthi attack. We covered that and showed you the video. Aardvark land unconvinced by U.S. Board of Peace plan for Gaza. Trump, Bibi may have become election liability for each other. You think? I don't know about in Aardvark land, but definitely here in America, it's gotten ridiculous. Emperor Trump has no clothes. All right, let's head over to the channels now. Give me the like, share, subscribe, push that notification button. We got 2.5 hours there worth of show with very limited commercial breaks. Give me the like, share, subscribe, push that notification button. Go check out Weaponized News Substack channel. Become a paid subscriber there. The links are in the description below this video. Let's head over to Odysee now and see if we had any listeners there today in the chat. A few people. A few on the Odysee. Shout out to Odysee. Thank you guys for tuning in on Odysee. Shout out to Pink Vegas, John, Fat Bob. Let's see. Trump is sleeping again. They're saying that mother at the Miracle Reform Executive Order press conference, they're saying she's a robot pushing her stomach, and that would zap Trump. I saw somebody claiming that to wake him up. It's pretty ridiculous, but who knows? Who knows these days? They're all actors, Sam, even Massey. I know. It's so painful, though, John. The school is in Michigan. And when I went to high school in suburban Chicago, there were posters advertising Inner LinkedIn for the students with exceptional musical ability. John said, yeah, and how many of those poor kids got abused? There are quite a few, it appears now. The music sells whatever this nonsense is. Fat Bob. Even Goebbels didn't use this much music in his Reich propaganda, aside from endless marching bands. So gasoline will now be priced at, I don't know, $10 and 10 cents a gallon. Oh, man. No special finance covered that one this morning. He's pissed. Oh, man. I remember when you were reporting around $48. So many common people voted for a billionaire thinking he would look out for the plebes. Yeah. It is a testament to our stupidity. Yeah. Sadly enough. We should listen to Rosie O'Donnell, right? That's what my wife says. She was been calling out Trump her whole time there in New York, and she was just written off as a crazy radical liberal, right? We should have listened to Rosie. Let's see. How did Colombia offend Zog enough to warn an attack with an earthquake weapon? I don't know. They put in their apparently their new president's a Zionist puppet, so maybe it has nothing to do with that, and it's just natural Ring of Fire activity. I'm just speculating here, but that is a possibility. Let's see here. Golden Dome is the cover for a surveillance network. ABM systems are notoriously ineffective. Some cronies in the defense industry will make a killing. Dismantling sounds like taking out the checks and balances the Constitution demands. John says, indeed, John, I agree. They're taking out all the checks and balances. I don't know if it's even in the Constitution, but they had some checks and balances. They're just like, Operation Warp Speed everywhere. Here's whatever money you need. Let's collapse this whole damn thing while you get filthy rich. Yeah, John, apologies for that brief. When I was talking about the founding of U.S. Central Command, I was muted there. Apologies for that. Good night, Fat Bob. The Somalis in Minnesota got away. Take them there, then bomb. Drain the water reminds me of their history of poisoning wells in Christian areas. There were reports last year of the aardvarks poisoning wells in Gaza. Tradition, John said. Yeah. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in on the Odysee and chatting it up there. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in on Kick, Bitchute, Substack, Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble. Let's head over here and see what the damage was done on these Rumble and YouTube chats. Shout out to Carrie on the Rumble, says, I miss Sam. Well, thank you. I miss you guys too. Denver, glad to see you back, Sam. Well, thank you. There, Denver, glad to see you tuning in. And Chloe, glad you're back, Sam. Well, thank you guys for tuning in on the Rumble. Appreciate it. And chatting it up. Let's see here. Sandwich time. That's why he's afraid of Epstein files. Yep. They say he sucked off Bill Clinton. I've seen those rumors. May very well be. They're sick freaks, man. So anything goes. Anything goes with these maniacs. Trump is mistaking the athletes for 12-year-old girls due to dementia. That's what Snow says. I think in reference to the Patriot games. Boys. Trump's a PDF liar, they say on the YouTube. Yeah, I have a hard time disagreeing with you. F.U. Trump is a national treasure. Really, Gerald? Really? Effing aardvarks, yeah. Yeah, I reported it, Denver. Denver's ahead of me, saying, yeah, after the giant earthquake and stolen election, they announced in Colombia they support stealing the Golan Heights from Syria. Oh, man. Indeed. I did get a tan, a little bit of sunburn. I went to Imperial Beach. They say the most southwestern point in the continental United States. I saw the border. Where I was at, you could literally see you could see Tijuana, the border right there. Let's see here. Iran is a superpower, they say. That's yet to be seen, but they're working on it. Iran doesn't even have a nuke, bro. But they're going to nuke us in 2 weeks. For the last 30 years. Each kid is a unique case. I think they're talking about the miracles. Yeah, man. They're all getting the same junk. I can't even talk about it because they'll ban me. But we've laid out in great detail with scientists, doctors, victims, children's parents, nurses, a bunch. We've documented in great detail here in the past. I just can't report on it any longer. Jesus was a communist. Somebody says on YouTube. The Postal Service has always been spying. Indeed, they have. Now, Howard Lutnick's putting out videos saying spy on everybody, right? When did frauds like this go from being hung to being ostensible smart ion corrupt leaders? Denver says, I'm telling you, man. Weird. I see stores and gas stations with "We need penny" signs in the window. I remember during the bat times there was an alleged change shortage, right? You guys remember that? I do. Some of the transactional math was one of the first lessons my parents gave me as a child. Yeah, I wish every parent would teach their children the transactional math there. Not many cashiers working professionally as cashiers know it. I'm telling you, in my own experience over the last couple of years. Excuse me, you could stop the war for a while. I need to go. Yeah, that means you better not spend your money. Are you a Catholic priest? Trump's a PDF. These are comments on YouTube I'm reading. Yeah. We only had a couple pro-Trump trolls on here today. Bombing cargo ships, just innocent crew members just evil. They're enforcing the blockade on the Strait of Hormuz. Remember, like 2 months ago, we killed some like 3 or 4 Indians on a ship there, and everybody's just like, "Whatever, dude." And it's like, you killed these freaking dudes that are not part of any. They're just part of some Indian. I think they were on an oil tanker, and we whacked them. And India, everybody just shrugs, whatever. You know, it's like crazy, man. Shout out to Mammoth on the Rumble there. Oh, let's see. I hear my cat calling here. You're on mute. Well, thank you for, apologies for that. On the founding of CENTCOM in the 90s by Jimmy, or the 80s by Jimmy Carter. I guess it would have been 80, right? Because he went out of office in November of 80, right? I am the Bardo of Scotch whiskey, Bardo says. It's a good one. I don't even know what that means. You look like a dentist on the YouTube. I don't even know what that means. Okay. All right, guys. I feel like it was a pretty successful first show back. And so I appreciate everybody tuning in on this Tuesday. We'll be back tomorrow. As always, everybody do your own research, peace, love, and freedom. Speak out and take action. Have a great rest of your Tuesday evening. And we'll be back here on Wednesday for more Weaponized News. Pray for peace. And thanks, everybody,